I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today we're going to make these adorable Easter Sunday baskets. They're a really nice size. They measure about 7 inches across and they're about 4 inches tall. If you want it to be taller, of course you can do some more rows if you want to. They're a really nice size for an Easter basket. They're also a great size to use for decorating maybe on your dinner table with flowers, or even use it as a bread basket for that Sunday afternoon dinner. They're great for spring decorating and not just for Easter. They're really easy, and one of the things about this basket is it's pretty sturdy because we're going to be stitching with 2 strands of medium weight number 4 yarn. And we'll talk more about yarn in just a few minutes. Now, you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make one of our Easter Sunday baskets, you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of a medium weight number 4 yarn. Now I made these with some leftover yarns that I used for another project. So I have this sort of melon or mango color. I made this orchid color, and today for our demonstration I'm going to use this spring green. And you're going to need to use 2 strands of yarn. Now I had this left over, and so I went ahead and rolled it into a ball with my 2 strands. You can do that. You can use 2 skeins of yarn. You could make it 2 colors. You could use ombres, whatever striping yarns, whatever yarns that you have on hand will work for this project. You can even make them out of cotton or any other fiber. You just need to make sure you have 3.5 ounces of a medium weight number 4 yarn. And just to give you an idea of what 3.5 ounces is our Red Heart Super Saver skeins usually have about 3.5 ounces on them. And if you want to use 1 skein, you can pull 1 strand of yarn off the top and 1 from the middle and work with that. All right. We're going to be stitching today with our K hook, which is a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need a couple of needles, and I'm going to be trying out these new bent needles. They're supposed to be better for weaving in ends, and I'll find out today. But you don't have to have bent end needles. You can use any needles. We're going to need them for weaving in our ends and sewing on our buttons. Now, on this one, I put 2 little Easter egg buttons. Aren't those cute? I got those at Hobby Lobby. And on this one, I just put this nice big flower. And I got that one at Walmart. And it's a good idea if you're making these for somebody else that you can customize them for that particular person. If you're making them maybe to give as puppy or dog gifts, or someone who loves puppy or dogs or cats, you can use buttons that represent that. Here are those little egg buttons, and then I've got some bigger flowers here. And on this green one, I'm going to add this maybe orange or purple. I haven't decided yet which flower I want to put on there, but I'm going to use one of those. Super simple. Now, I just used a couple of buttons. You can add ribbons and all kinds of different decorations if you want to. I just like to keep them simple, but of course, the decorations are up to you. And then, of course, the last thing we need is a pair of scissors. We're going to be starting from the center of the basket, work the bottom, and then work the sides of the basket and then the handle. So I've got my 2 strands of yarn. We're going to make our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put the tail of our yarn over our hook and pull that through. We'll snug that down, and then we'll make that little stay knot. Now, if you prefer to use the magic circle or another method here for your beginning circle, that's totally fine. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. Our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. We're going to stitch 11 more in this chain 5. And you'll also notice that I'm stitching over that tail of yarn, and that's so we can gather closed that hole. We don't want a hole in the center of our basket. So we want a total of 12 double crochets in our chain 5 ring or circle. All right, let's see how many I've stitched. Let's get those strings out of the way there. All right, so our chain 3 counts is our first. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need 2 more, so I have a total of 12. 1 and 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give that a little bit of a pull, get that out of the way. We're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now, before we go any farther, I'm going to turn this over and pull on this again and try to get that hole closed. Then I'm going to grab my needle here. And a lot of times when I'm working with 2 strands, I'll do them individually, but for the center portion, I want to do it together. Okay, so I'm going to go through those stitches. Keep pulling on it. I'm going to come up. There we go. The end of this needle is just a little bit blunt. I'd like it to be just a little bit more pointed. All right. So we'll clip that off. And we don't have to worry about that end because we just finished it. Or you can wait till the end to do it if you want to. All right. So for row 1, we have 12 double crochets joined with the slip stitch to our chain 3 and chained 3. All right, for row 2, we're going to stitch a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3 because our chain 3 counts is our first. And now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in each of these double crochets around. So 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. And you can already see that this is going to stitch up really quickly. We're using 2 strands, so it will go quickly and you'll get a nice sturdy basket. Two double crochets in each of those double crochets around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of those 12, so I have 24 double crochets. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. All right, so now we're just going to repeat what we did on row 2 on row 3. We're just going to have more stitches, of course. So we'll stitch a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. So we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of our 24 double crochets around. Then we'll join back to our chain 3 and again chain 3. I have completed row 3. You're going to have 48 double crochets for row 3. we joined to our chain 3 and chained 3. And now what we're going to do, our chain 3 counts as our first, and we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3. So that gives us 1 double crochet in the first 4 because our chain 3 counted as our first. And now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. 1 and 2. Alright, so now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And that's our repeat for row 4. 1 double crochet in the next 4 and then 2 in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 in the next. And we'll continue to repeat that around. Now I repeated the 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 2 in the next around. And when we get around here, you'll notice after your last 2 double crochets in the same stitch, you only have 3 double crochets left. And so what you're going to do is you're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 2. 1, 2, and then you're going to skip that last double crochet and go ahead and join to your chain 3 and pull that in nice and snug. And then chain 3. All right? And that way we have 56 double crochets, and we need 56 for our pattern to work on the sides that look like a basket. All right, so in those last 3 stitches you stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 and then skip that last one and go ahead and join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now for row 5 we're going to be stitching in the back loops only. So you have 2 loops around. You have a front loop that's facing you and you have a back loop that's facing away. And so we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those back loops only. Now we're starting to form the sides of our basket. So 1 double crochet in each of the back loops going all the way around, and you'll know that you're doing it correctly if you see this line right here, and that's those front loops that we're not stitching in. So 1 double crochet in each of the back loops working all the way around our basket. I stitched 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around, working in the back loops only. You should have 56 double crochets. We're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. And again, this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Now we're going to start stitching what looks like that basket type stitching on the sides of our basket. So what we're going to do is stitch 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and we're not stitching in the back loops only anymore, only for that row 5. We have 1 double crochet and then our second one because our chain 3 counted as our first. And now in the next 2 stitches we're going to stitch front post double crochets. And what that means is you're going to stitch around the post of the stitch and not in the top of the stitch where we usually stitch. So yarn over, go around the post, and stitch our double crochet. And then we'll do that in the next stitch. Now in the next 2 stitches, we'll stitch regular double crochets. 1 and 2 regular double crochets. Then we'll go to the next 2 stitches and stitch a front post in the next 2. Front post double crochets. And this is our repeat around for row 6. 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and 1 front post double crochet in the next 2. And you can already see how that makes sort of a basket weave type look. All right, so we're going to repeat 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and 1 front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working all the way around our basket. I completed row 6, stitching 2 regular, then 2 front post double crochets, alternating all the way around. You're going to end with 2 front post double crochets. We'll join to the top of that chain 3 and chain 3. And for row 7, you're basically going to repeat what you did for row 6. Your chain 3 counts as your first, so you'll stitch a double crochet in the next, and then 1 front post double crochet in the next, and then in the next. And so basically we're repeating 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2, and then 2 front post double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 front post double crochet stitches. And again, we'll repeat this, working all the way around this row. 1 regular double crochet in the next 2, 1 front post double crochet in the next 2 front post double crochet stitches. And repeat all the way around for row 7. We completed row 7, which was basically a repeat of row 6. Here's our last 2 front post stitches, and we're going to join to the top of that chain 3, only this time we'll join with our slip stitch and then only chain 1. And so what we're going to do now is reverse our alternating stitches. And so we're going to front post double crochet around that first stitch, and that's why we chained 1 instead of chain 3, and then we'll front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then in these next 2 stitches, which are front post stitches, we're going to stitch just a regular double crochet. All right, so now in the next 2 stitches, which are regular double crochets, we're going to stitch a front post around those 2 stitches. 1 front post double crochet in these 2 stitches, and then 1 regular double crochet in the next 2. And so we're alternating 2 double crochets and 2 front post double crochets. We're just doing it in the opposite places. All right, so our next 2 double crochets will be front post double crochets. And then the next 2 will be regular old double crochets. And this is our repeat for row 8. 1 front post double crochet in the next 2 double crochet stitches. Whoops. There we go. and 1 double crochet in the next 2 front post stitches. And we'll repeat this, working all the way around till we get back to this first front post double crochet. I completed row 8, stitching the opposite of what we were doing. Remember, we began with our front post and then stitched our regular stitches in the top of our front posts. All right, and so for row, let's see, this would be row 9. We're going to just repeat what we did on the last row. So here's our last 2 double crochets. We're going to join to that first front post with a slip stitch and chain 1, and then we'll stitch a front post around the first 2 stitches. There's 1 and 2. Then a regular double crochet around the next 2, or not around, but in the next 2 stitches. And then front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And that's our repeat for row 9. 1 double crochet in the regular double crochets, front post double crochets in the front post double crochets. And see how that gives it sort of a basket look? I really like that. And so we're just going to repeat this around, stitching 1 double crochet in the 2 double crochets, 1 front post double crochet in the 2 front post double crochets, and repeat this all the way around our basket and join back to that first front post double crochet. I completed row 9, front post double crochets in the next 2 and 2 regular in the next. And isn't that pretty how you can see how that looks like a basket? All right, so here's my last 2 double crochets. I'm going to join to that first front post double crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now, this last row on the top of our basket, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches around. So we'll go right in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet. And it doesn't matter whether it's a front post or a regular double crochet, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches all the way around. And I will tell you, on this row, you might want to pull it just a little tighter, and that will help with the shaping of the basket. I am normally a pretty loose stitcher, and so when I want to do an edge like this, I try to tighten up my tension just a little bit. I do it on most of the things that I do with a basket or a bag. That last row, I just try to tighten up just a little, and that's going to help that basket stand up nice and sturdy. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of those stitches all the way around the top of our basket. And again, if you're a loose stitcher like me, you'll want to tighten up that last row just a little bit. I completed row 10, which was 1 single crochet in each of the stitches all the way around. We're going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. And now we're going to make our handle. Now this makes a nice basket as it is. If you want to use this for decorations or a bread basket and you don't want to add the handle, you don't have to. You can just tie off and weave in your end and add your decorative buttons however you want. And so if you want to make the handle like I did, after you've joined to your first single crochet and chained 1, don't tie off. What we're going to do is single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 and turn, and then 1 single crochet in those 3 stitches. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Chain 1, turn, and then you'll stitch right in that first single crochet, 1 in each of those 3, chain 1, turn, and repeat. Chain 1, turn, and repeat. 1 single crochet in each of those 3 single crochets. And so you're going to want to continue to repeat this for 29 more rows. And that's going to get you a nice long handle. Now you can adjust that. If you don't want your handle to be super long, you can do less rows. If you like a really long handle, then you can do more rows. So you'll just repeat chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in those 3 single crochets, chain 1, and turn for as many rows as you want for the size of your handle. So once your handle is as long as you would like it to be, don't tie off. What I want you to do is line it up across, and you can count your stitches on both sides if you want to. I just eyeball it. And then we're just going to go in these stitches here and stitch it on with some slip stitches. Now, another way that you can do this is just lay it on top and sew it in place with a needle and matching yarn. If you don't want that little edge right there, you can do it to the inside, or you can just sew it on with your needle and yarn. Alrighty, so I'm going to go in, I've done the 3, but I'm going to go in that edge there and pull that in with a slip stitch. Then we'll go in that next stitch and pull that loop to the inside so it's nice and neat. There we go. And now we can tie that off. And then we'll use our needle. And I'm going to use my other needle so I can weave these in individually. Most of the time when I'm using 2 strands, I do like to weave them in individually. I think it gives it a better hold. But there are times, like at the center, where I did them both together. So it just depends on what I'm doing. And I am really liking these bent end needles for weaving in. So it is a good investment if it makes it just a little bit easier. Alrighty, so let me go ahead and weave this one in, and then I'm going to show you how to sew on that button. Oh, but before I do, I know I'm going to get some questions about how to make the handle just a little bit stiffer. Now this makes a pretty stiff handle. It's not going to stand up like plastic probably, but it does make a nice stiff handle. And what you can do is get you some of those, they're called chenille stems or pipe cleaners. They're fuzzy with a little bit of wire inside. And if you get the longer ones, there's 2 sizes. I think one is like 12 inches and one is like 18 inches. And I've only seen them this year at Walmart and at Hobby Lobby. But you can call around and find those. And all you need to do is just weave it in the back side and make sure you connect it on both ends. And I do suggest putting a little bit of hot glue on the ends of those wires if you're going to be having this around kids. You can tuck it in and then put a little dab of hot glue on there, and that'll keep that end from being rough and pointy, okay? But it's up to you what you want to do. But you can see the handles are pretty sturdy for decorating. All right, let's add some buttons. I decided I wanted to add my little puppy button and an Easter egg on the end of my basket. All right, so what I do is I'll come up from the back, See, I'm going to put the puppy on this side. And when you stitch them on, make sure you go through stitches and not holes. All right, so I'm going to leave a little tail back here. I'm going to make a loop because this one goes sideways. I'm going to put that puppy on first. And just stick that through there. Make sure that's on there nice and secure because I'm sure these will get played with. And if you're worried they're going to come off, you can use a little bit of hot glue just to give it a little extra stability if you want to. All right, so there's my puppy. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to go on the back and just make a loop. And then I'm going to come up down over here because I want that egg to be right there next to that puppy. Whoa, I dropped it. There it is. All right, and then I'll just do the same thing. Make sure it's going to stay put. There we go. And again, there are some that you can buy that are called flat backs, and they don't have the little, what I call top hat on the back. They don't have this. They're made for using with scrapbooking, and you can use those also. Just add a little bit of hot glue. Make sure it's nice and dry. And another thing I like to use, of course, is that E6000 because it holds really well. But you have to make sure it's nice and dry before you let any of the kids play with it. All right, so let's just tie the back of this so it's going to be nice and secure. My buttons aren't going to come off. And now it'll be ready to fill with lots of goodies and treats. Or maybe just be used as a bread basket on your Sunday afternoon Easter get together. So now I have 3 fun baskets that I made from just using my leftover yarns. And you probably recognize these because these are the colors that I used for my big striped bag. And I had this yarn left over and I thought it was perfect for Easter baskets. Now, you can, like I said, decorate them however that you want. I like using buttons because they're quick to add. But you can add ribbons and bows. You can fill them with all kinds of goodies. Use them for a bread basket or decoration on your spring and Easter dinners and decorations. So it's lots of fun, and it's again a project that we can use up our leftover yarns to make.